Powered by Rep Media in partnership with TSN, it is Season 6 of the Ray and Dregs Hockey Podcast, presented by our title-sponsored Canadian Club Whiskey. New to their amazing invitation series is the Canadian Club Classic 18-year-old high-proof, full-bodied whiskey, aromas of caramel, toffee, spicy vanilla, rich oak, but the butterscotch finish kind of tops it off. Just helps it make it so smooth. I think it's on the shelf for the most part now. We're into October. I know we've had our sampling, Ray, and It's delicious, flat out delicious. Have you shared with the boys yet, or not quite yet?
No, I shared with me this weekend, and watching a little football last night, and little dab. Oh, it was very
perfect
nice.
Way to
enjoyed it. Beautiful. Yeah, it was awesome. It is really great. I know we say that a lot, but it is really great, and it's different. It's different. It really is. Yeah.
So here we go, man. You're in it this week for sure. Yep. Radio, multiple podcasts to launch the new season today. Another major record guest for Ray and Dregs later this afternoon. Don't want to give it away. That'll be up later this week. Season preview for me on TSN tonight. Start prep for insider trading tomorrow. Feed and walk Tiny because Holly is away visiting her sister in Kelowna. Okay, yeah. So I got a full plate. I'm not complaining, but I got a lot going on. It's not just about the simple travel and stuff that you have to do in the next day or two.
Well, I was really well organized. I'm kind of getting my morning going at 6:30 a.m. out here in Vancouver. Yeah. So I'm all organized. I got things rolling. And then all of a sudden I hear our bedroom door open, which only means one thing at 6 a.m. Ollie's coming out. Oh, yeah. So Ollie, first appearance down here, but that throws a little wrench into the morning. He wants to eat. He wants to go for a little walk. But I'm like, buddy, I got no time. No time right now. So I'm actually off to Seattle tonight. And first game of the season is tomorrow at 1:30, 4:30 Eastern time. So 1:30 Pacific. I'm doing St. Louis at Seattle. Then after the game, jumping into a jet and going to Utah for the home opener in Utah, and we'll do the Blackhawks and the Utah Hockey Club, an expansion team, Dregs, not the old Arizona Coyotes, an expansion team. And then, so 2 games in one day to start the season off. So pretty excited, and it'll be fun.
Yeah, I'm going to retract my complaining about the schedule that I have. But paint the picture for us, because as you're describing finishing one game, racing to the airport, jumping on a jet. Yeah. I've got the James Bond theme playing in my head. Like, are you in a black trench coat just running for that Lear jet and diving on and then
I'm thinking, you know what, Dregs? I'm thinking the horn will go and I might beat Dan Bilesma off the Seattle bench. And so I'm going to, as much as these little legs will high step, I'm going to be moving along. And apparently there's a car on the loading dock, which will take me to a plane somewhere. You know how I am on these details. I'm a little.
Oh my gosh.
There's this wonderful woman. Her name is Camille at ESPN, and she does all this stuff and like organizes it for me. And I don't know any of it. They basically say, just follow along, Ray. Don't even try to think. So I go car to plane. Plane goes, we land in Utah. I think it's about 15 minutes from Salt Lake's airport to the Delta Center. And so it's going to be close, but AJ Malesko's there too. And so we'll, along with Bob Wishoes, and we'll do that game.
Yeah, but AJ will already be there. Bob will already be there. So is Camille literally escorting you, or she's just getting you in the car?
She's just she does the logistics. I don't know. Somebody will be there.
This is going to be fabulous. This is going to make Thursday's pod tremendous. No question.
Yeah, I do think I'm a little worried about the last 5 minutes of the game where my focus is going to be. Right. You know how when
I'm praying for overtime, buddy. Sorry.
Oh boy, that's chaos abounds. I know just because of the way I travel, I won't exhale until I get in the seat in the plane. And then I'll be like, okay, I'm here, and now it's going to take however long it's going to take. And then I'll take my notes from the first game and kind of ditch them in my bag and get the last brush up on. I know, Chicago. I know them quite well. I did a lot of their games last year, and the guys they brought in are all in their mid 30s anyway, so I know those guys easily. And then Utah is they're good. And we'll go through the divisions here, but I think Utah's they finally got enough stuff sorted out. I think they're going to take a step this year.
Well, you're going to do great because you're the best in the business. But I can't wait for Thursday because there's going to be a story or 5 that come out of this excursion.
You've traveled with me enough, Dregs. The simplest becomes not simple. I just don't know how it happens.
All right, time for headlines brought to us by Tim Hortons. Celebrating 10 years of NHL hockey cards. Unwrap some incredible finds in this year's packs of Timbits to NHL cards with a little bit of a tilt here, Ray. Each one alternates between players as kids in their Timbits jerseys to their current NHL ones.
Awesome.
I mean, this is a spectacular promotion. You could also find a golden prize card for a chance to win a trip to meet Sidney Crosby or attend the 2025 Stanley Cup Final. Stop into your local Tim Hortons and get along for the ride. This one is great. Jeremy Swayman, 11th hour, agrees to an 8-year, $66 million deal. So a couple million more than Cam Neely suggested last week when he threw out there were 64 million reasons why he should be here. I'm paraphrasing, but that was the point. I don't know. I mean, is there any lingering hard feelings, any of that? Or do both sides just say, hey, forget about it. We got a deal done. Okay, he missed training camp. He missed the preseason. Just play hockey. Be as good as you need to be to give us a chance to win every night.
Well, I think it's impossible for the thing to linger. And the reason I think that is that if it was a 1-year deal, there'd always be a talking point.
Yeah,
you can talk about whatever you want. He's there for 8 years. He's likely going to be there as long as anybody pretty much on that team. And it always looks so petty at the end of any contract negotiation. It's a $66 million deal. Turns out they were arguing over $3 million, right? And you're like, really? You couldn't have settled that 10 days ago? But Dregs, how many negotiations have you covered? And when you get to the end, you're like, oh, that deal was so not obvious, but whatever's next door to obvious, it was going to happen for the most part. Why couldn't you have gotten to that earlier? And it's because it's a deadline. The season was coming up. Swayman doesn't want to miss games. The Bruins don't want to go into the season without him. And I happen to think Jeremy Swayman's a top 10 goalie in the league. I think this deal will age very well. Good matter. I think it speaks highly, but it's taken an enormous step forward with Ullmark. And I think the Bruins have just solidified this position by getting Swayman done.
I also like, you bring up Ullmark. I like the confidence that Steve Staios has in the potential and in the process of the future of keeping Linus Ullmark in Ottawa. I talked to Steve last week about this. Of course, there's risk and gamble. He's in the final year of his contract. But they feel good enough in Ottawa, given that Linus has a young family. He likes the quiet environment of Ottawa, so they're going to let him get settled in. His family is his priority. Learn to love Ottawa and the community, and the hockey will look after itself. And then hopefully the contract looks after itself. But there's still, you can say all that, but it's a pretty obvious gamble if the hockey doesn't work out or there's something about
and from some he would, and with everything with Alfie, it's no filtered. And so you would just get the what the scoop is about the area. As for the hockey, I think that speaks a little bit to the confidence that the Senators have that they are a team on the rise. That they know, or they're confident in their coach. They're confident that they can get better with their young players, and they're confident that Ullmark will like that. So that's I think all those pieces fit at Ottawa.
All right. Well, that's a perfect division with projected leaders. Now we're talking here, surprise teams maybe taking a step back, and we'll start in the Atlantic since we've talked a little bit about Boston and Ottawa. Florida is defending Stanley Cup champion. Do they have the edge at this point? I mean, there's been change in Florida during the offseason. Florida, Toronto, Boston, Tampa. I mean, who do you like as being a top contender in that division?
Well, for me, I have Florida as the best team, even for me, even though with the changes, even though I know that they probably don't have the same urgency as other teams that are fighting for a playoff spot. Mm-hmm. They'll be able to play the long game, and I think that's the way that. Well, when we had Paul Maurice on, I mean, that's the way that he talked about this season. It's playing the long game. And I have Florida to win the division.
Okay.
I think there's 5 teams that can make it from this division. I don't know who the 5th team is. I think they're gonna fight for a position amongst themselves. But like at the top, like there's no way Toronto, Florida, and Boston are gonna miss. There's no chance. Yeah. Those are teams that are going to make the playoffs. So then you get into that group that can Tampa hang on? Can they still be, because I think you talk about a team with change, like they're not changing for the better. They're changing to extend a window here. And that becomes dangerous because there's a time, like what if Kucherov gets hurt?
Oh boy.
Right? Like, oh boy, right? Like every team is, thinks the same thing, but if one of their best players gets hurt, but he's such an integral part of a thinning roster. And so Tampa's a team that I put them slightly above the Buffalo, Detroit, Ottawa group that we all seem to talk about is right on the cusp. I put them slightly ahead, but I think 5 teams can make it from this division. Okay. Florida's at the top for me.
So real quickly, just to wrap up that division then, and we've touched a little bit, Detroit, Ottawa, Buffalo, Montreal. I mean, among that group, are you looking at Detroit? Who are you looking at that maybe has a slight edge on the pack, if you will? Is it Detroit? Is it Buffalo? What do you see?
I would say it's Detroit. Detroit missed by 0 points last year.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So like they're the team that has to go the least distance. Buffalo loses 2 games right out of the hopper over in Czechia. And while that's not like the end of the world, of course, there's months and months and months to go.
4 points.
It's 4 more points. And so I don't know. I don't think Montreal's there yet. I just don't. And
I agree with that. Yeah.
And so I would say Detroit would have a leg up on Buffalo at this point, for me anyway.
Okay. The Metro Division, the Metropolitan. The New York Rangers, the Devils, Carolina, Pittsburgh, Wash, the Islanders. Of course, you have Philly and Columbus, and putting them, purposefully near the end of the pack there. You want to start with the Rangers? We've talked a fair bit about New York. Or is there, are they the top contending team? If not, well, certainly in the East, but, to win that division? Or is New Jersey ready? Is Carolina going to be interesting again? What about those who think Pittsburgh can make another push here?
Well, I don't. I think the Rangers are the best team, the deepest team. I do think with the space that they have, with the ability to add somebody through the season, they'll have a few options that they maybe haven't had in the past, Dregs. And like Riley Smith's a nice ad, but is he still a top line player? I don't know. And so they're gonna have to work their way around that. I like Jersey. I think Jacob Markstrom, much like Ullmark, solves a lot of problems in Ottawa. Markstrom solves Tom Fitzgerald's biggest problem in New Jersey. And Sheldon Keefe's been through this before, the high octane offense. And how do you get these guys to believe in the other side of the puck? He's been through it before. His whole NHL career has been that. And I think Jersey will push the Rangers. Carolina, I see them taking a little bit of a step back. I think Pitt'll be a team that will challenge again. I mean, they've got too many good players, but they also got too many holes. As I look at their team right now, Philly, I think Philly's just on the edge of being on the outside of it again.
Ray, have you seen enough of Matvei Mishkov in preseason? I mean, this kid he's 19, so there's going to be growing pains. There'll be all sorts of expectations, as there always is with these developing young stars, but he's got some swagger. He's got some confidence. He looks like he's ready to be an NHL player.
Oh, I think he is. I mean, I remember watching him at the World Junior Tournament in his draft year, and there's just something different sometimes when you watch these kids. And this, I don't even know if this how you quantify this, but there was a hunger and a desire to him that was a little different. I mean, they're all hungry and they all want to win and they all want to score, but there's something different about certain guys. Like Bedard had it at that tournament too, right? Yeah. You could just see it was a little different. The only reason Michkov went to 7 was that when Philly drafted him was that nobody knew when he was going to be able to get here, and the Flyers finally said, "This is, I don't care how long it takes, we're gonna take him."
Too good a player,
and so I do think he's a difference maker for a team that really struggled to score last year. They're really happy and really excited to get him in. Now, a lot of things went right for about 5 months in Philly last year, and so they'll look at some of those younger players they have and like, can they take a step for them offensively? Michkov, they hope can right out of the chute. Like Morgan Frost is a key player for them this year. Like he's not 18 years, 19 years old anymore. They need him to produce. And of the young guys they have, he's one I would think to keep an eye on. They kind of need him to score a bit.
We'll wrap up the Metropolitan as you're talking about the excitement level that's developing in Philadelphia. I'm thinking about this GIF or meme or call it whatever you were on X yesterday. I don't know if you saw it when the waivers came out. Pierre Engvall and Justin Hall are both on waivers.
Yes, I did.
And there's that GIF of Kyle Dubas just cheering, going, "Yes!" Yeah. It just made me laugh. I was just thinking, okay,
I gotta be honest with you. Like when Pierre Engvall signed a 7-year contract, who thought that was a good idea? Like now, so of course he's on waivers. He's got 6 years left on his contract.
Yeah.
And even, it's funny, I guess you get into free agency and your, managers, they're understandably desperate to get better. Like Justin Hall had a really difficult year in his last year in Toronto, and then he gets a 3-year deal in Detroit.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so the hope is that you can rekindle a little bit of the better parts of his game. And now here he is 10 months later, and he's on free agent. He's a buyout or not. I guess he's not a buyout candidate. He's on waivers, and it would be too much to buy him out at this point. But it's still 2 years on his contract left.
I mean, Lou Lamoriello is the most respected historic general manager still occupying the office in the end. That had to be even a tough one for Lou to go to ownership of the Isles and say, "Yeah, we're going to put this guy on waivers with 6 years remaining." That's that. And I'm talking about Pierre Engvall, of course. All right, over to the West, Ray. Pacific. You've got Edmonton, you've got Vancouver, you've got LA, you got the Vegas Golden Knights, you've got Seattle, Calgary, Anaheim, San Jose. I guess I kind of listed them off in my order. Don't know if it fits your order. But when you look at that division now, just by recency bias, are you looking at Edmonton at the top of the chain?
Yeah,
or not?
Yeah, I don't. Yeah. Like some of the other, we mentioned about the Rangers having a little bit of cap space, and they can address what they need to address later in the year. Like get out of the gates here, see what you got, but you're good enough Rangers have Shesterkin, the of McDavid and Draisaitl, and on a power play that can carry them in the early part of the year till they can figure out their defense, because that's not a defense that's a Stanley Cup contending defense like that.
No.
I think there is just about zero chance that defense will look the same in March as it does now. I think, I just don't think there's any chance it will be the same. But Vancouver's question is, when and how much can Thatcher Demko play? He's a difference maker for them. And so then you get to Vegas, and, there's always a whirlwind around Vegas somewhere, somehow. and I'm like, I don't even, Jonathan Marchessault is a big loss for them.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm interested in how do they patch that back together? Like, how much do they overcome a guy that really meant a lot to their team and the way that they had built it. But so my top three are Edmonton, Vancouver, Vegas. It's going to be really hard for LA to overcome Drew Doughty for 3 months.
A lot.
Doughty's loss is, that's 25 minutes a game.
Yeah.
And as much as Brandt Clarke might be ready to take a bigger role, and they've been really high on him from the get-go. Like, man, that's from 0 to 100.
Yeah.
What they're hoping there. And so I have them as the next team down. I think Seattle will be better than last year, but I think they'll try to score more. Of course they will. They'll try to be faster. They'll try to finish more. The goals were a problem for them last year. And then Calgary's a middle of the road team right now. They're trying to, reestablish what they want to be. And, and San Jose and Anaheim are, they're putting brick by brick together at this point.
Okay, Central Division: Dallas, Colorado, Winnipeg, Nash, Minnie, St. Louis, Utah, Chicago. I mean, you touched a little bit on Utah earlier, but Dallas, cream of the crop in the Central.
For sure, yeah. I do think they'll miss a lot of his production, but also the intangible, quiet way that he led. I think they'll miss Joe Pavelski this year. What a great career, by the way. Pavelski had 7th round pick, and
Pete DeBoer will miss him for sure. Yeah.
I mean, you just loved watching him go about his business. There was never any fanfare or notoriety or fuss or muss around him. He just, he had a fabulous career. They're going to miss him, but they got some young guys there that they're going to give a little shot to here. And Bork will get his shot. We saw Stankoven at the end of last year.
Yeah.
Wyatt Johnston's on the cusp of being a star in the league. They've got some young people that can help them bridge a gap here. And I do think Jake Ottinger had a bit of an off year by his standards last year. I do think he's a backbone goalie. And I think there'll be a little bit of whatever a rebound looks like, but Dallas is the best team there. Colorado's got too much stuff swirling around their team right now, whether it's Nichushkin and whenever they may or may not get him back. The hope that Landeskog would be able to provide them with, I don't know. I don't even know what would you expect. He's been away for 2 years, but they're a little thin up front. And even with, the very top end of their roster so good, I think they're a step behind Dallas.
Okay. What about Nashville or Winnipeg? They all in Minnesota. Throw them into that group too, right?
Yeah, Nashville's curious for me, man. They 99 points last year. They had Marchessault, O'Shea, and of course Steven Stamkos, and they had a hell of a July 1st. And how it transfers, like, are they more than 100 points? What was a key for them is keep an eye on Tommy Novak. And a name most people probably will be going, well, he's their second line center. Yeah. And he's going to play between Marchessault and Stamkos. And the first time he fires a pass into one of those skates on either wing, I've been there, and it shouldn't matter. They're just your wingers. Everybody's trying to do the right thing. But when I rip a pass over into a top-notch winger's feet as a young guy, oh my God, it's like an anvil falls on your head. The
Yeah,
darts,
yeah.
like the eyes you get, or like, figure it out. So Nashville's that's an important part for me. I think Minnesota's just they're slowly getting out of the cap hell that they were in, and and I don't know that that they're quite ready to take that next little spot, like the next spot to the playoffs. I think they're close, but they're not Winnipeg. They're not there yet. I don't think.
Okay.
So Winnipeg's still good. They got a few more holes this year, though. Dregs. They
do.
Kevin Cheveldayoff keeps patching the boat there, and they put together 100 points again. But it would be hard for me to think that Hellebuck can put those same numbers up again.
Yeah.
And if he doesn't, then I think they drop some points too.
Yeah, they need their young guys to take that step, right?
Yeah, they do. Sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
I guess it's an old line. You need the young guy because they're the next wave of your team. And that goes across the league. But some guys are more ready than others to do that. And then for Utah, I will say this: they have a good group of forwards. Their defense was a train wreck last year. They brought in 3 guys. They brought in Marino, Cole, and most notably Mikhail Sergachev. And so they basically rebuilt half a defense.
Yeah.
So I do think they'll be better this year, but they got to climb. I think it's about 20 points to get to the playoffs, and that's a big leap in 1 year.
So we're at the Sphere in Vegas for the draft, and Billy Armstrong happens to walk by. I think I was standing with Chris Johnson, in a tunnel, just off the draft floor. And as we do, we're just having a quick chit chat, and I think I tease him. I'm like, Billy, something going on? You got anything? And he goes, "Oh, I've got something going on, and it's big. It's going to flip the hockey world upside down." And I start chuckling. Yeah, sure. And so then somebody else from Utah walks by, and I go, the GM just mentioned this. Is he just mucking around here, or is there something? Oh, no. He's serious. And now CJ and I are like trying to figure out what the hell is going on. And then they announced the Sergachev trade.
Not many D in their mid-20s get traded. And, remember, he broke his leg last year. That was a bad one.
Yeah.
And he fought like heck to come back and surprised most people by getting back.
Yeah.
Now he's months away from that injury again. And has had a chance to get healthy and rehab and get stronger. Guys like this are interesting, Dregs, because he's never had to be the guy, even though people thought there was another level there. Well, we're going to find out. And Utah bet on it, right? They bet on it.
Sure.
They can, this is a place where he can grow. And I will say this, sneaky, really good head coach in Andre Tourné. And
couldn't agree more.
He is a sneaky good coach, and like everything in Arizona, it went under radar. He's got a chance. If Utah, I don't know why, I've got this feeling that Utah might be right on the playoff cusp this year. And if they are, he might have a big say in Coach of the Year stuff. He would be my dark horse candidate this year.
Happy for him. Billy Armstrong's been kicked in the shins 1,000 times, just slogging through the mud in Arizona. John Ferguson Jr., like all those guys.
Do you know what I picture Bill Armstrong? I picture him in his office writing on a notepad. This is in Arizona. And he's using pencils because they're cheaper than pens. And right when you were in elementary school, remember when your pencil was like about 2 inches long?
Yeah.
You kept forgetting to get a new one and you'd sharpen it again and you're right down to the end. And some other kid goes,
down to a nub.
And you're like, do you need a pencil? And you're like, well, yeah. Well, they're using pen this year. I think they've got the first real chance to be a good team.
All right, well, let's wrap up headlines with this. And I don't know. We're not big believers. I'm not anyway in projections, prognosticating, all that. It just sets you up to be a loser. But the fans like it, so damn it, we're going to give it to them. Who wins the East? Who wins the West?
We get all these things from our bosses about your projections and your predictions. And honestly, Dregs, over the last 4 or 5 years, I just call them my guesses because it's impossible to figure out what's going to happen in 7 months. Teams you think are going to be good fall apart. Somebody's goalie is no good that was good. They get a bunch of injuries. And anyway, I got my 4 division winners. I have Florida, New York, Dallas, and Edmonton. I picked Dallas to win the Stanley Cup. Jim Nill with his first Stanley Cup after in Dallas. Of course, he won like everybody else. He won a boatload in Detroit. I had trouble picking the East winner, but I did pick Florida again.
Wow, good for you.
Those are my picks. So Dallas over Florida in the conference final.
Yeah. So I'm at Toronto, New York in the East, and I think the Rangers actually, they're obviously all in with the roster that they have. In the West, I have Edmonton and Dallas. And I'm hedging right now because we're recording in Monday morning. In our preview show, I've already submitted my predictions, and I might change it. Because I had Edmonton winning. I had Edmonton winning.
Come on, you can't change now.
Well, but I was on.
Are
the
you
fence
expecting
with
a
Dallas.
big waiver pickup? Are you a big waiver pickup's going to change your mind?
No, it's how convincing you've been on the Dallas Stars.
I really like them. I think
like Dallas.
Yeah, I don't know. And you know what? This makes no sense, none, zero. But since they played last year, I don't know why I think Dallas is going to. They lost last year. I think they'll win this year. I think those two teams are that even. That everything's a flip, and it makes no sense. But that's how I ended up with that, because I got to Florida and the Rangers again.
Yeah.
Like that's where I get to, and if next year if the Rangers are 10% better, is that enough to overcome Florida? Like when I say next year, I mean next May.
Right.
Yeah. We'll find out.
All right. Those are your headlines. Thank you to our good pals at Tim Hortons.
Tim's NHL trading cards, celebrating 10 years of unpacking the thrill.
5 packs of the new NHL trading cards, please. 10. Make it 10, please.
With Tim's 10th edition NHL trading cards, it's hockey card season.
All right, once again, it is time for Ask Ray and Dregs. Anything, you can send us your questions to Instagram. It's at Ray and Dregs, or on the website, rayanddregs.com. And I guess it's
Dregs. I gotta jump in real quick before you get to Rishaug. I just got a text from he's our stats guy. He's our booth coordinator. He kind of like to do it all. And he said, I'm driving right now, and I just passed a men's clothing store. He's like, Ray, don't forget to pack a tie for tomorrow. Twice last year.
Come on.
3:30. I'm like, I don't have a tie.
I don't have a tie.
Yeah. He's bought me, I've reimbursed him, but he's bought me, his name's Ivan. Ivan's the best. He's bought me 2 dark blue ties. I have more dark blue ties because Ivan keeps buying the same color. And he's like, I know this will match something you're wearing. Here you go.
That's outstanding.
So,
see, they're in.
Thanks, Ivan.
Those are that's part of the story that we're looking forward to on Thursday with planes, trains, and automobiles with Ray Ferraro. All right, let's bring in TSN Bureau Chief Ryan Rishaug, who now handles, on top of everything else that he does, he's got the Elks, he's got the Oilers, he's got the the Sherwood Park Crusaders, or what's the team there that you follow?
Do it all, buddy.
He's got a lot going on.
Do it all.
Huh? He does
do it all,
including host Ask Ray and Dregs. Anything.
So, Ray, you tell that story. I recall, I'm pretty sure it was New York. I recall running into you on the street one day and being like, hey, Ray, what's up? And you were a little bit flustered and busy. And I'm like, what are you doing? You're like, oh, I got to go find a clothing store. you were on your way to look for a clothing store because you had forgotten a tie and you had to go buy a tie.
Yeah. My worst, yes, I do recall that. My worst is forgetting belt and shoes. Like, how would you not notice your bag is way lighter or emptier? But no, didn't have them. Oops.
A flustered Ray pounding down the pavement and the sidewalk, just no time, knowing he's got to spend some money on something he's got 40 of at home. Okay, guys, for Ask Ray and Dregs, we're going to start with Aaron in Buffalo, who says it was a tough start for our Sabres overseas. Wondering what should a realistic expectation be for Tage Thompson this season? Dropped from 47 goals a couple years ago to 29 last season. This team desperately needs him to get back into that elite category of goal scorers. Was it a one-off, or is he capable of getting himself back to that level? Wish my team didn't have to start their season like this. Hope it doesn't derail them in the early going. That's from Aaron in Buffalo, Ray.
Man, you get near 50 goals. I mean, it's pretty hard not to think that's a high watermark. I think he's a 35 to 40 goal guy. And if people think that's a little low, it's a hell of a lot of goals. I'm not talking about 35 one year. I'm talking about year after year after year. He's got a big shot, like a really big shot. He's, he's good around the net. He's got really good hands, but, man, you can change coaches, but sometimes you just got the same batch. And that's, in Buffalo, I watching them, they gave up a lot of the same stuff. Devin Levi was awesome in the second game, or that could have got out of hand. So I would say 35 to 40 is in my headspace for what I have for Thompson.
Yeah, I'm with Ray on that. I think 35 is a fair number. And statistically, it's a drop off to some degree, but Buffalo, I think, is going to play a different game. You've got Lindy Ruff back in the mix there, and Tage brings a lot of different assets to how he plays. He's big, he's lanky. There's a bit of meanness in him. So, if he can stay healthy and play the game that he's capable of playing and get 35 on top of that, I don't think that's a step back.
Yeah, he just seemed to catch fire that one year. Hey, everything was going in, had all kinds of mojo. Seemed like every time we turn on the highlights, Tage Thompson was skating around with his arms in the air. But big regression last year. We'll see what happens this upcoming season. Okay, you covered a little bit of this in your preview there, but Daniel in Regina writes in and says, with 110 points, Jets, fourth best team in the league last season, the only team in the league to give up less than 200 goals. Do you think they'll eclipse their point total from last season? But here's the part I want you to focus on. He asks, should they be more of a top-end cup favorite than they currently seem to be? Keep up the great work. Love the pod.
Yeah, I'm going to say no, because they've got it's hard to win. It's hard to go year after year after year. It's hard to, I just don't see them giving up under 200 goals again, which, of course, they were the only team. So, it's not like it's a stretch to say that, but they were so good last year. 110 points is a lot. They lost their center, their number 2 center. They didn't replace it. That's a big hole. That's a big hole to their team. They're hoping for Perfetti, who they signed, and Brad Lambert maybe to make some headway, but when you start to get, hoping for the young guys to get to the front of your team, not just to give you support, it feels, I don't know, it feels a little thinner in Washington. So to answer the question, or in Winnipeg. So to answer the question, I don't think they get to the same point.
Yeah, it's going to be a challenge. There's no doubt about that. And if I'm circling areas of concern, I'm with Ray. It's number 2 center in Winnipeg. And right now you've got Mestikov centering that line with Perfetti and Nikolai Ehlers. You've got the story of Nikolai Ehlers. Is he going to extend? Is he going to be trade bait? All of that. And And then you look deeper into the lineup and you see Kapari and Iafallo currently on the fourth line with Barron. So, I mean, it feels like the depth is there. It feels like they've got the pieces. The cap is going to be another issue for Winnipeg. It sounds like they're going to go with 22, 23 if they keep a third goalie. But to get to where they got to last year, I think they might be a better team in the playoffs. We'll see how it plays out. But to get back there point-wise is going to be a challenge.
I think we can all agree, though, thin at the second center, but we love that third line, hey? Adam Lowry as a center on that third line.
Appleton. Yeah.
Oh,
really solid.
That's a heck of a good line.
That would be a pain in the ass to jump over the boards and see those guys. You're like, that's a hard line to play against.
We'll wrap the segment with this. Jessica in Burnaby says, hey, Ray, saw Landon working on the Canucks broadcast. Okay. He did a great job. What advice did you give him before his first time on air? Will we see more of him? Love the pod. Can't wait to get the season going. That from Jessica in Burnaby. So for those that didn't see Landon working on some of the Canucks regional broadcasts in the preseason, I saw a couple of them here, Ray.
Solid.
Pretty smooth, bud. Pretty solid.
Smooth, man.
For a newbie.
Now, I want to know, I'm going to ask you guys a question because the report I got was a full sweat through on the shirt on his first appearance. Do you remember yours? Because I had a light blue shirt on that was dark blue when I finished.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I remember mine. It was at the old, what was the building in San Jose where you couldn't hear anything? What was the name of it? It doesn't matter, but it was ridiculous. And I couldn't hear the producer in my ear. I'm hosting, I think it was 97, 98 with the Oilers. First game ever. I was like,
was that the Cow Palace? That was the Cow Palace.
Yeah, the Cow Palace. I think I remember throwing up right after the opening. Ew. So play is going on and then getting to a payphone because the company I worked for was too cheap to give me a cell phone, and calling collect to Holly and going like, was I terrible? I feel like I couldn't hear, like I was almost in tears on a payphone.
Yeah.
Ryan, you must have, you're a sweater to start with, so I think you probably were.
Yeah. Well, my first one was actually radio, Ray. I was working at Radio NL in Kamloops. I was on an internship, and so I'm reading this news report. I was doing news. I'm reading news, and I'm in the booth, and I go to introduce a clip, and I go to fire the clip, and nothing happens, and I went like this. I went shit about that loud.
you said shit.
I said shit about that loud, and then I look over, and the red light is still on for the mic, and I was like, no.
Yeah,
so I just continued on. I come walking out of the booth, you guys, and I'm looking around like, like, is anyone here? I go sit down at my desk. I'm quiet. I'm like, nobody heard. Nobody said anything. I'm okay here. Well, then our afternoon guy comes in like 2 hours later, and he's like, hey, everybody. Hey, guys. Ryan, did you say shit on the air today? My wife was getting her hair done, and she swears she heard you say that. So I got busted in the end, but that was maybe my third cast I'd ever done.
Awesome.
I did. Okay, so I did tell him, try to get to your point, be as quick as you can. Remember, you did play, so you do know what's going on. And I said, and you'll forget all of that as soon as you start. And I thought he did well.
Fair.
And
he did great.
He did well.
And now he's going to do like a dozen or so, 14, I think, till Christmas. And in between periods with Dan Murphy, and Murph's awesome.
That's awesome.
So yeah, he's really excited about it. And I didn't know I could hold my breath for 4 minutes. I was more nervous watching him do that than play, to tell you the truth.
Can I add in my own question here on Ask Ray? Am I allowed to add my own one in? Because I would love to hear Ray compare his temperament to Landon's. Like, what are we dealing with here with Landon? Compare his temperament to yours.
More calm for sure. More laid back.
Landon
sounds like we'd like him more.
Yeah.
Yeah, he'd be a lot more amenable to the flows of the day. Put it that way. I'm better. I'm better. It took me till 53 to, it took me a while to
Way
a little bit of a run up to that. So yeah, but he's got a different temperament for sure.
Well, he's doing a good job. Look forward to seeing more of him. Dregs, either of your kids ever think about getting into the biz?
No, not really, actually. My son, I think, initially thought, maybe, but he was more involved on the coaching side and the management side. His interest was more in line with that. Now he's a beer rep, so it all makes perfect sense.
And my kid's a news reporter in Saskatoon. My kid's a news reporter of all things.
Well, yeah, but good.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Dive in, dig at it. That's
Absolutely
awesome. And Dregs' daughter was far too smart, and she just
goodness.
She just ran laps around all of us.
That's a fair point. That's a fair point.
All right. That was Ask Ray and Dregs. Land the plane. Dregs, land the plane.
Okay, buddy.
Guys.
Inside joke. Speaking of planes, we got to let you get out of here because you've got a lot going on, as we've already established here in the podcast. So by Thursday, by the next time Ray and Dregs drops on Thursday, imagine you'll be in your zen. It'll be, I got through this, I got through that.
Oh, by the way, by Thursday, I will have done 3 games because I'll do the St. Louis, Seattle. And Chicago, Utah on Tuesday, then fly home and do Calgary, Vancouver opener on Wednesday. So 6 teams in what's that, 30? Oh my God, in 30 hours. So 6 teams in 30 hours, 3 home openers, and I'm lucky to do it, man. I just think I think it will be really fun. So come Thursday, I'll be ready for a nap.
Awesome. Well, like I said, we've already established the opener for the pod on Thursday, and it's almost too bad that Camille or somebody isn't traveling with you. Because we do need the video and the visual support.
They're going to have somebody apparently, and I'm going to be my best to be composed.
Okay, perfect. Well, make sure we get a snippet that we can post on our social channels. All right, buddy. Well, safe travels. Safe travels. We know you do well.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks for listening. Good luck to your teams as they get rolling this week. It's time to get moving here.
It is the real season. The regular season is upon us. Thank you to our sponsors who continue to support Ray and Dregs and make this podcast possible. Our title sponsor, Canadian Club Whiskey and Tim Hortons. And thanks to you, everybody. Stay safe. Talk to you again Thursday.